What's up everyone, welcome to today's video, welcome to the Gamer channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today I'm going to be sharing my experience in defeating Commander Niall, or whatever his name is, and I'll walk you through my strategy guide and a few things that I feel are pertinent for you to know. Now, first things first is this boss, he has two knights that he summons. One of them provides ice AoE damage with his swords and is very damaging, the other with his shield. First thing I found out and learned, and this was provided by another content creator, so shout out to something Johnny Cage that makes Elden Ring content. He recommends that you destroy the knight with the dual blades, and once you do this, it really makes the whole fight kind of easier. And so I was able to quickly dispatch him after my umpteenth try and death in order for me to be able to go ahead and do this. But here are a few pertinent things regarding this fight that I had to modify in order for me to be successful, because even when I followed all those instructions, there were still things that I needed to do to dispatch the second knights before starting to actually face, the Commander Niall guy himself. So if you notice, initially when I jumped in here, the very first thing I did was summon my Mimic Tier, my Mimic Ash. And then after taking out the knights, I quickly switched weapons and switched to the pulley crossbow. These were, in my opinion, very critical for me to be able to defeat this boss, because all I needed was my crossbow in one hand and then just memorizing his moves and working through them. Now, here's the beautiful thing. If you use this methodology where you're hitting him with a crossbow, you're going to keep him almost in an infinite loop of doing one specific move set or move type, which is this move where he jumps in the air, which is his air slam, and then that's pretty much it. And if you can keep him here while you continue to burn him down, you'll be able to take him out, as long as you have a good collection or selection of bolts ready to go, and you can switch in between the fight without dying, because you, depending on how much damage your bow does, I didn't even pay attention, this particular bow was only leveled to level 2, so shame on me for not leveling up better. I actually leveled it up after the fight, and I was able to continue to deal damage to him, but I kept him in this loop of doing this air slam, which is actually easy to dodge, and the follow-up attacks that it comes with are also very easy to dodge. So if you notice, this is basically what we did for the remaining of the fight. For at least the next 8-9 minutes is what you're going to see happening, and that's one thing that's very unique about this boss. Now you can try to take him on using basically whatever weapon you want. You can get in there and get some damage in, but that would mean you would have to, in a sense, try to figure out some of his timings that he does, and it seems somewhat sporadic if you were to ask me. That's the one thing. I could not necessarily narrow them down, or maybe my brain power could not take that many move sets for one NPC, and so I decided that this strategy might at least allow for me to be able to dodge extensively, only for me to discover that I could keep him in this particular loop for a very, very long time. Now, like many bosses, they have halfway points for their HP, changes or transformation or surprises, what I call them, that are just cut out for you. And so once you get to halfway for his health, he'll eventually try to start, doing some of his AoE moves, whatever it is, but still this crossbow will lock him into this particular cycle where he keeps doing this move almost over and over again. Now, the reason again that you really want to keep your distance whenever you're fighting him, or at least learn his moves, is because almost everything with this boss is an area of effect move. Even this particular move, the starter, if you're standing right by him, you will get lightning and frost damage together. So even though you see me walking away from him, I'm standing a good distance away from him, right? Well, when he hits the floor, when he slams his right foot into the ground, and you're standing right there, it's really going, if you're standing close to him, it's going to deal damage to you. So he really is a keep away boss in a weird sense. And so that's something that you really have to pay very close attention to. So if you're having problems or issues with this boss, and maybe to get in it's just a problem, this is one methodology that I feel like you can use. Now, there are specific movesets that he will do where he commits very heavily with his spear, and I think these are some of the places that you can actually get a shot in, but for some strange reason I just could not get in as much as I want, and I think I know the problem. All through this playthrough, I've basically prioritized getting katanas and all of that stuff, and that's not necessarily been fun. If you notice, he also has another move with that foot where he basically can slam into the ground and it causes lightning damage. That lightning damage is almost so quick you can't see. This is also another move that he basically dashes to you. It's his dash move. And you can also get like 1 or 2 hits in here when he does that and zaps across the stage. So that's something you have to pay attention to as well. So these moves are not too difficult, you know, for you to be able to dodge. But what seems to be crazy is whenever he makes or you dodge him, he does another AoE slam that really chunks out your health. And so that's something that you have to actually pay attention to and memorize. But I basically went with this strategy. I call it the Bloodborne-ish or Bloodborne wannabe strategy. I've never played Bloodborne before, but I know you have a projectile weapon in one hand and you have a, you know, your melee weapon in the other hand. So if you notice, I gave him 3 hits here, and then that's probably when I need to move. I probably need to give maybe 1 or 2 hits and be done. So I was trying to complete a full combo, and that was the case. So again, like I told you guys, my bolts were not crossbow was not leveled up fully, so I had to switch and get extra bolts. So I took the flame bolts, which they don't do too much. They don't do any difference in damage to this guy anyways. He's just some kind of tank. It tanks a bunch of different magic damage and all of the above. So I'm gonna let the rest of the video play so that you could just watch me continuing to do this over and over again. It might get boring, but after you play a boss 40 something times and you know you're kind of new to these games, you could say get good, or you could say just do what you gotta do. This is one of those do what you gotta do tactics. A few other things too that I have to mention is in the middle of the fight I switched weapons. I don't know if you noticed that. I was using a big heavy hammer, which was a kind of a blunt weapon that will cause stagger for those soldiers. And that's, you know, that was something, like I said, was recommended by, you know, one of the guides that basically walked me through that first part, because that was a very interesting part. So you want to be able to get a little bit of stagger on the twin blade guard. And so in the middle of the whole fight, I basically had my katanas ready to go, and then I took off that hammer to reduce my weight so that I could dodge effectively. That's something you want to have to time to be somewhat precise, because there's a lot of pressure from this guy. And so you just want to make sure that you can quickly dump that weapon and move to lighter weapons if that's your setup. But if you're using a big setup with a shield or whatever, maybe a fingerprint shield, maybe a visage shield, the whatever that name is, a visage or whatever it is, that shield could help you take some of his damage. But for this particular strategy, if my crossbow was stronger, this fight would have been over at that point. So that's the one thing I wanted to go ahead and just share with you guys in case you're having problems, something that could be helpful for you. So thanks for watching the video. I appreciate you guys so much. If you enjoyed the content, let me know, and peace out.